#ArthLasby, my art and my Asperger's. Hello, in this video I am discussing that landscape painting is not boring, flat wall art. Someone, an irritating personage who will remain in the maggoty end of the compost heap of my life, told me that painting was per se boring, flat wall art. As an Aspergian, I do not always react immediately. However, I have a problem with stupid. It just sticks like a bad smell that must be found and bleached out of existence. My brain is not capable of forgiving the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Rather, I shoot at short range or walk away forever. I did the latter, but now we have Covid-19, and the landscape may do very well without humans in it. If you like art, and why are you here if you do not, then conjure up David Hockney, still painting, still creating at 83, and painting landscapes, renowned, resilient and respected. And as commented in a BBC doco, treating outdoor painting as an extreme sport in all weathers, although he now lives in Normandy. Hockney gets excited, you get excited, and I get excited too. Painting matters and extends to all landscape painting. It is very good advice to believe only what an artist does rather than what he says about his work. David Hockney by David Hockney, 1976. Hockney created a monumental landscape oil painting made of 50 canvases, together measuring 12 metres wide by 4.5 metres high. Bigger trees near water. Now in the Tate Gallery, the work was first exhibited at the Royal Academy of Arts, London in 2007. The canvases were completed en plein air over 6 weeks. Hockney expressed what most landscape painters aim for, an overall mood that is pensive, bare of people, but a landscape that is ready for something. The window's gaze is hinting. Painting outdoors or en plein air is even better than at home or in a studio because one needs to get the image down fast, otherwise before you know it, one will have an audience. News ahead. En plein air painting by Robert John Burton. I have found the countryside incredibly beautiful and alive in the now. There is an experience of advancing into all that breathing space. The documentation process in making images engages the viewer in the picture making that speaks about the value of painting by hand. The photographic image can go only as far as the lens can, and our confidence in the camera's eye, especially with the ability to manipulate images digitally to show us what the world looks and feels like, is questionable. All images are artificial in some way, and pictures will always have problems. But what the hand, the eye and the heart can do and paint can never be replaced. As well, attention to pictorial traditions and a responsible work ethic too, that is, to paint or create through difficult environmental, physical or emotional conditions, must inspire those working in the visual arts. I painted this during a dark time in my life. Painting landscapes brings attention to a crucial time of global environment degradation. Once neglected land has become noticed because of interesting landscape subject paintings. There is a need to explore the ruin of much of the world's landscapes too, and paint past the hauntedly decorative and add voice to saving the environment that interests me. In any case, whose business is it what any person calls art and where they show it? Countryside with its views, animals and occasional people became my chosen milieu. I'm one of those few who can wander off in some direction through the thickest rainforest or savanna and never get lost. My earliest paintings were of the middle of rainforest where later I heard people got lost in. Many of my landscape works have bright colours, as do my portraits. This springs from my viewpoint, not from some studied formula. I did not see Hockney until I was in my 30s at art college. My work at the time was compared with a well-noted colourist, John Rigby, 1922 to 2012, who as a guest judge gave me honours for painting on my final year's assessment. He was a lovely, gracious man in a time when people were extremely competitive and pushy. It was the gracious 80s. Painting landscape pictures is a search for beauty and the willingness to search out new ways, including methods and materials to do so. I have commented before that the personal for me as a being with Asperger's syndrome is problematic. I cannot meet others' expectations. The personal is difficult. I need space, the space of landscape. I constantly make mistakes with engaging with people. They seldom like me, and they do not stay in contact, like clouds. The bird's a cloud bird in a mosaic that had a painted background. Therefore, the invention of the emptiness of the landscape becomes a balm to my inability to constantly engage with people who do not understand me. They are there, but we are not bothering each other. Painting accompanied my professional pottery career. I tried to do it all, which would eventually exhaust me because the deals and others were less than supportive or helpful. It is a sad indictment of the art world. It does attract crazy makers because according to Sayer's law, the stakes are so small. All works begin with a drawing. The intensity of black ink on the white paper forces an equilibrium. A splash or a blot of ink creates a need for balance somewhere else in the drawing. The flow and thickness of line is calligraphy and is a demanding mental exercise requiring restraint and exuberance in equal measure. An examined confusion evolves a fluid landscape reflecting the most ancient of creation myths. Chaos is dethroned by Erebus, darkness, beginning the earth to be all life, joy, emotion. Mythology is always an inspiration. However, I do not want to be a myth illustrator. I take the feeling of the myth and run with it. Landscape painting is never empty because the light is everything, protean, generative and murderous. Sunshine crashes into hills, which spills out a forest setting. The form is abstract and acts as an undercurrent for the light's intense activity. Nothing stands still for the observer. The rhythm of life is a powerful beat, as the song goes. Hummock, hillock, mound, rise, outcrop, knoll, or small hill are all synonyms of a lot of earth piled naturally in one place as a single entity or as a group that inspired storytellers to invent tales about their creation. Writing and storytelling are imaginative activities that gives public form to a personal interpretation made from personal knowledge or a private response to surprises come across in the natural world. The tropical regions are full of these odd mounds, and they are evocative of ancient burials found in many civilizations. Something may be hidden here. Something has a story to tell. These dry outcrops of rocky hills are scattered throughout the arid parts of Australia, suggesting piles of materials ready to construct monumental places for strange new inhabitants of unknown intent or even responsibility to anyone or anything. H.G. Wells wrote in the opening paragraphs of The War of the Worlds in 1898, "Intellects vast and cool and unsympathetic, regarding this earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely drew their plans against us." I always feel that something or someone is watching me when I look at these outcrops. To be alone in such a landscape is a privilege and lies in wait for those who understand the quality of solitude, a very subjective state. We can believe we are alone, but consider the way most care for the deceased. Painting from memory after the experience of the sun setting, and I like the sense of something melting away like the thousands of my brain cells did while painting this. I'm not consciously aware of how the work comes together, although I know when to stop. A series of paintings that are based on a visual hallucination, strong phenomena that require recording, a symbol of intrusion like a flaming meteor or a transcendental illumination. Either way, bright light is strong in the mythology of human life, stolen by Prometheus. It is the stuff of creation and rebirth and destruction, and reflects my flicking and darting flame-like brushstroke. It was suggested I had had a small stroke. Water imagery has always interested me. By the sea, in the stream, clambering over rocks and watching the ebb and flow of the local river, and surviving a major 1 in 500 year flood. One of my first water paintings. I have never been afraid to go out and paint on my own. I would scramble over hills and through scrub to find a subject. The value of en plein air lies in the very nature of painting quickly and aiming to produce a work in a direct way, something that expresses me, because I'm not good at talking to people, particularly if they are difficult. A lot of landscape people leave people out. Nice. Koalas and possums accepted. Creating a sense of place is essential because the interest comes from the artist's interpretation and the important merits of the scene. Different painting mediums create varying effects. Sometimes work is done in a studio from a sketch, but either way the mood will dominate the result. Because I made many pottery creatures, they were placed into a landscape context, some more natural than others, as though that mattered. This Aspergian could live very happily on an alien world with loads of weird beasties. Important to me is the building of self-confidence through my work. Changes in this world due to its pending financial and social crisis arising from Covid-19 will impact all of us. Everyone will feel some tension. The young will blame the old. Politicians will avoid the changes needed. The environment will suffer in a grab for money, and the hopes of many will be dashed. What is different from past disasters is the pressure of human population numbers. So one of the good things about working on landscape painting is the ability to work as effectively and lightly as possible. We need less stuff to produce work. Giant stuff is not going to cut it. Resources are limited. For me, that means limiting my essential colours, keeping brushes longer, using fingers and mediums to spread paint, anything that helps the process of creating. During the last depression, many people hit the road looking for work and resources, making local sketches, postcards, which grabs more essential details than digital images, may become historical markers more interesting than the myriad of pointless online images that will blast away with the next solar flare. Landscape is not boring. It is done with some spirit. Nature, or the natural world, is always the artist's starting point. The lesson must be learnt. This planet Earth is not an endless resource to be used and abused. The coronavirus is a string of environmental events that reminds us of the value of the land, and as a resource for artists too. Be humbler, leave a smaller footprint, appreciate the beauty of the natural world. Thank you for viewing. Please like, comment, subscribe and share. You will be supporting a regional Australian artist. Thumbs up.